This is Meet the Movie Press. It's November 15th, 2019. On the show today, Beverly Hills Cop 4. Netflix out of here. The Mandalorian movie, maybe? Fantasy Island trailer, Charlie's Angels, Waves, Ford, and Ferrari reviewed. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Meet the Movie Press.
This is Meet the Movie Press. It's November 15th, 2019. My name is Simon Thompson. I'm your host. You can find me at Showbiz Simon on Instagram and Twitter. You can find this show at Meet Movie Press on Twitter. Please do follow. Please do follow our tweets. We really appreciate it. In the chat today already, Ricky Davila is in there. Kame Egan is in there. Carson Bertrand is in there. Demetri Panos is in there. Glamour is in there. Venus Schnitzel's in there. And Sky Patterson's in there. Obviously, because of people like you, is why we do this show every week, so thank you so much. Looking forward to talking movies with you today. On the panel this week, Scott Menzel, welcome back.
Thank you, sir.
For those people who don't know who you are or where they can find your work, who are you and where can they find your work?
You can find me over at WeLiveEntertainment.com, and you can find me on a show right here on the Popcorn Talk Network called Film Critics Weekly, which goes live at 11 a.m. today.
And Demetri Panos, welcome back.
Thank you. It's great to be back. It seems like forever. It's awesome to be back on Meet the Movie Press, also Popcorn Talk Network's Anatomy of a Movie, and a featured guest every now and then on Critics Weekly.
Fantastic. Thanks, guys. So we've got a lot to get through, first of all. A couple of big stories this week, and we have three movies I want to go and talk about a bit more today. We are not going to agree on some of the movies this week, which is going to be very interesting. Okay, first of all, let's talk about Paramount selling Beverly Hills Cop to Netflix, along with the option for another sequel. The Beverly Hills Cop movies, in decreasing levels of goodness over the 80s and early 90s. And we had those. Beverly Hills Cop 4 has been something that's been talked about ever since and has not come to fruition. It's been on, it's been off, there's been prequels, there's been trying to do it as a TV show. We are finally getting Beverly Hills Cop 4, and it was a Paramount property. It's now going to Netflix. First of all, Scott, on this. Your thoughts initially on us getting a Beverly Hills Cop 4 full stop, it becoming a reality. Your thoughts on that?
I think it's the right step.
Okay.
I really do. I think it's interesting because Netflix obviously has found great success with Dolomite. Mm-hmm. We all on this panel are very leery and nervous about Coming to America 2. Mm-hmm. And the rating for Coming to America 2, Netflix is going to make sure that this gets a R rating.
Which it needs to be. And I think that this is going to be something that's going to play well, and even better than Coming to America 2. Yeah, no, absolutely. Demetri, your thoughts on this?
Well, it makes me leery of Coming to America 2.
Yes, that also
it makes me wonder that people at Paramount may have seen it, and they're maybe not too keen on it. Usually, so Paramount's done this before, and again, I'm not adverse to this type of symbiotic relationship with the studio and Netflix. Studio has a movie like the Cloverfield sequel that showed after the Super Bowl. Yeah. Made complete sense. Paramount knew it was crap. Netflix had it. They say they got a ton of viewership. I am kind of concerned because this is a Beverly Hills Cop movie. I don't want it to look like a Netflix movie. I was looking forward to a sequel. I mean, I love Beverly Hills Cop. I think we all do.
Yeah.
And you're right. Your opening statement, they have gotten worse. Like Beverly Hills Cop 3. I was hoping for 4 to be an apology for 3. Right.
Fair enough.
And I wanted it to be theatrical. And if Eddie Murphy's making a comeback, Axel Foley is the perfect character. I think even more so than Coming to America.
Yeah.
I think this is the character that I wanted to see. I mean, I want Eddie Murphy.
If you ask people to name Eddie Murphy's character in Coming to America, most people couldn't. If you ask them to name his character in Beverly Hills Cop, Axel Foley, everybody knows it.
Excellent point.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's why I was really looking forward to seeing this on the big screen. I don't know what we're going to get now on Netflix. I think it's like a one licensing deal. So everything after this, I guess, might go back to Paramount. Again, the only thing that my first thought was, Coming to America might not be that good.
Well, I think here's what I think Paramount's thinking. They're very, very leery now with how bad their last couple of movies have done.
Yeah, they've had a poor
They
run.
had a very
Outside of
rough
Rocket Man.
year. Yeah. I mean, Dora, which is a shame, did not do better. Then you had I mean, Terminator, which is just a train wreck in terms of box office. For
losing
them.
over 1,000 screens this weekend, which is like 30% of their stuff.
And I mean, it's not doing well. They already started working on the Blu-ray. So I know, like, they're already done with that. That billboard that's down by Hollywood and Highland's going to be ripped down today. Playing with Fire, also another bomb for them.
Right.
You know, and I think they're a little nervous. And I personally feel with Eddie Murphy being over at Netflix, seeing such great success with Dolomite, but then also doing his stand-up special that they're going to do.
Yep.
I just think it's the right fit. And I mean, I know he feels differently, but like I've had a real change of heart on Netflix in terms of their quality this year. They have really blown me away.
Which is going to be my point.
Yeah.
Because I think we've seen, the thing is, we're still thinking of Netflix as purely being really on the streaming service. We've seen with movies like The Irishman, we've seen movies like Dolomite, that people will turn out when it's a limited amount of screening. We saw it with Oakshire, we saw it with Roma last year. There are people who do want to see some of these Netflix movies on the big screen. Now, if you'd have asked me 18 months ago whether having a movie made for Netflix was going to be a particularly good thing, it was still really seen as an also-ran. Really seen as, like, you know, sort of 5 years ago, moving from movies to do a TV show was kind of thing, especially if it was on an HBO or a Stars or a USA network. And it was kind of, you know, the quality of the stuff was maybe considered, even if it wasn't, to be that low, to be a step down, to be that equivalent of a straight to DVD sequel. I think in the last year or 18 months, we've really seen a change with that, with things like The Irishman again. So I think actually Beverly Hills Cop, I would anticipate it being very much a Netflix movie promoted on that platform. However, I very much think that they would do a 1 month or 3 week engagement within a limited amount of theaters. And as we see Netflix moving into buying theaters like the Egyptian in Hollywood, I really think that they are making movies to be movies that are also on Netflix now rather than Netflix movies. I think Beverly Hills Cop could be probably, outside of The Irishman, the first one that is legitimately out of the gates made with that big screen, small screen. We have to make sure that it works on both kind of philosophy.
I also think that Ryan Reynolds movie is going to be like that too.
Six Underground.
Yeah.
I think that would probably get some theatrical release. I mean, a terrible poster, but I mean, a lot of great movies have had terrible posters.
I my only disagreement with everything you say, yes, we've seen some quality come out of Netflix, but we don't know who's seeing it. You just don't.
No, we don't. I mean, it's, you know,
they don't report numbers, and I'm sorry, but people in Middle America won't be able to see these movies because they're not going to be playing in theaters near them, and they're shortchanging the public from these quality movies because they're so intent on disrupting the business.
And those people watch it on Netflix and get that big screen quality movie, they will still benefit from it.
Yeah.
certain movies
they tuned right out of Roma. You can't say that.
I guarantee you're trying to sell Roma to your average cinema going in Wyoming.
No,
they're not going to watch that movie. Oakshire, they're not going to watch that movie.
That's what I think the big difference is now.
Art house movies, no. Parasite is a perfect example of that. Parasite, it had
Middle America's not watching Parasite though.
But it is going to be the highest grossing foreign film ever released.
Right.
Okay? And had it gone Netflix, it wouldn't have made this money at all. So whether or not Middle America is going to go to the movie, the right audience, the movie-going audience, the discerning audience will go to the movie. And like I said, Parasite is a perfect example of that. But it is subtitled. It's got a weird feel to it. It's not your normal commercial film.
Yeah.
And Neon is benefiting so much from releasing that movie theatrically.
I don't disagree with you, but what I do disagree with you on is that the people who are in those smaller cities are not watching it in these small towns. The people who are watching it are in these major areas.
Yeah, but again...
And that's what Netflix is making sure that they go to those major areas with these movies.
But they're not... But even in those major areas, though, right? They still have to travel because it's not playing at the AMC in Danvers. Right. It's not playing at Cinemark. It's not playing at Regal. They have to find an art house film that may not be close to them.
It is currently not. I think there are going to be chains who currently are very resistant to Netflix showing movies, where they're seeing the popularity of these Netflix and they're realizing that if you are the one movie theater in Chicago, the one Regal or the one AMC that is showing this, that they perhaps will lessen their position and start to show this. I would hope.
I would hope. I mean,
and in which case, then you need to have quality that matches that big screen experience. So
100%.
It's very much a seesaw in this balance, but we're getting slightly off topic here with this, and onto a topic that I know we've kind of discussed before. But I think my point is the fact that I think now they're looking at making these movies that play both on the big screen and the small screen and not just on a large TV at home, which I think is really important. And I think really, to be honest with you, even if you put The Irishman in some of these smallish areas, there are people who won't go and see a 3-hour movie in a movie theater and pay $15. They will want to watch that movie at home because they don't see the cinema going experience as you see it, and as I see it, and as a lot of film fans come. There are a lot of people who consider themselves lovers of movies who aren't the same kind of lovers as movies as we are within our kind of, industry bubble.
Yeah, my only counter to that is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Did great.
Absolutely, but if you look at breakdown of box office in some of these rural areas, again, these are rural areas where people didn't necessarily turn out for that outside of major city markets. There are some movies that I think are still difficult to sell. Your points are valid, but I think, it's not just about that. In the chat, Zeno Hour, hello, Glamoury, hit that button, cuz. Sky Patterson, hello, Scott and Dimitri. BlackRock 316, good morning. Glamoury, we got 10 diehards. I think we can stomach another Beverly Hills Cop. Well, whether we can stomach it or not, Glamoury, we're getting it. And I would gladly sit through another 5 diehards if they were better. Cameron Egan, I enjoyed the first 2 Beverly Hills Cop films. The third was just all right. I agree, it's all right. I revisited it recently. It's not as bad as I remember it being, but it is great. It's not quite the standard of the first 2, and I agree with Scott that going to Netflix is a great idea. Prince Hakeem, black folks know. That's from Glamoury. I know Prince Hakeem. I'm not black. But your average Joe would
Your
not know that.
point is well taken. Yeah.
Sky Patterson, Paramount selling Beverly Hills Cop to Netflix is not surprising. No, it's not a huge brand or IP to warrant a huge audience. I'm not against it. I will mostly appeal to the African-American community. Do you know what? I think actually it's going to appeal to a lot of people outside of the African-American community because I am, plot twist, not African-American. I'm not African at all.
Spoiler.
I'm not American. Spoiler alert there. Yeah. But I think actually when you say that it's not a huge brand or an IP to warrant a huge audience, I think it is one of those brands or IPs that do actually go, from people who are grew up in the 70s and 80s right through to the 90s and now, and the people who kind of grew up in the 90s and their parents showed them, Beverly Hills Cop. But it's about whether, and this is a problem that we constantly come across with studios that have these heritage IPs, when you make a movie and you put it in theaters, audiences don't necessarily turn out in theaters. So, because they love the idea of a movie, but paying $15 or $20 to see the movie is a different proposition. So I think actually taking an IP that I think is a strong IP and a heritage IP, and it's one of Paramount's strongest and consistently popular, I think actually taking that to Netflix and not having that risk of needing asses in seats is actually a very, very shrewd one. And Dimitri's point, by the fact that they don't tell people how many people watch this, there is still this illusion of success because you don't have that figure to say that it didn't bring people in. Kame Egan, Netflix is a great platform to jumpstart Eddie Murphy's career. We've seen that already with Dolomite because, Dolomite is his name and fucking a motherfuckers is his game. Come back because I'd get a ton of views and the attention of studios directors to put him back in box office feature films and rewatchability. You are way more likely to revisit a movie that is fun but not amazing if you're getting it effectively for free in your $10 package.
100%.
100%, and you're more likely to recommend it. Apple's streaming service isn't cheap. It's $5 for its original content, but you have to pay for the rest. Carson saying, there's a Parasite showing in Billings, Montana that I'm attending tonight, and I'm not expecting a crowd. No.
You'll be you and 2 other folks.
Yes, I think you're right, Carson, to be honest with you, but it's a great movie and you'll have an amazing time. Vietnam Schnitzel, it's good to see Parasite hitting. It'll open the doors for more alternative movies in wide release. Sky Patterson saying, Simon, the 2020 film slate for Paramount looks interesting, but will it succeed enough to rival Warner Brothers, Disney, and Sony? Top Gun 2. I heard some good things about this week. SpongeBob, which I think will do okay. I don't think it'll do amazing. Quiet Place 2, I think will do well, but I think it might not do as well as the original. We'll
Clifford
have to see.
is dead.
Clifford, no. Snake
Eyes,
Eyes,
no.
I don't know, no. And Without Remorse, that is not a movie that I would consider that they're going to have success with.
No.
Wait,
A lot of these movies are face wipers.
Snake Eyes like the Nick Cage Snake Eyes?
No,
The
it's
Snake
the
Eyes?
G.I. Joe spin-off movie. That's just like, no.
I'd rather
Hey,
watch Snake
why
Eyes
didn't you
than
make a G.I.
Nicolas-
Joe spin-off movie? Hey,
I'd rather
why
watch the
did we
Nicolas
not?
Cage, Brian De Palma movie.
There's still time.
And
Give it to Netflix.
And finally on this, Ricky Davila, Paramount is in quite the trouble with their massive losses these past 2 years. Yeah, absolutely. But do you know what? I'm really hoping that Rocket Man is going to be a big success for them at the awards season this year. And if you haven't seen Rocket Man, it remains one of my top 3 movies of the year, and I strongly recommend it. Okay, let's move on from Beverly Hills Cop now. Let's talk about the Mandalorian movie. Apparently, it could happen. That's according to Disney's co-chairman, Alan Horn. Good morning, Mr. Horn. Don't know. Everybody likes waking up with the horn. So, okay, so Disney Plus launched this week on Tuesday. A little bit of coverage about that, especially from some online outlets. I watched the first episode last night. So that we could all talk about it, because I'm assuming you guys have also seen The Mandalorian this week.
No.
Okay.
I'm waiting.
Are you shitting me?
No, I'm waiting for them to I thought the whole season was going to be up, and it's like one episode. I'll wait so I can watch it in succession.
And you're my feelings on
You're
it.
not going to
Yeah.
drip this to me. The only thing I watched on it was the $1 Million Duck and the documentary about Imagineering, which was actually very
Kids, for
fascinating.
those who
But I'm
don't
gonna
know,
wait.
The $1 Million Duck is an old school Disney movie that you probably have not seen.
Probably not, but that's what I watched.
But
so
now it's-
I'm waiting
it's
for The
in there.
Mandalorian.
Okay, well, we're not going to be talking about the $1 Million Duck. I mean, spoiler, it's to do with a duck and $1 million. Plot twist. Spoiler review there for that movie. The Mandalorian, though, the movie could happen, apparently, according to Disney's chairman, Alan Horn. Now, I'll be honest with you, I like Star Wars. I enjoy Star Wars. I'm not as much of a fan as some people. It's not my ride or die kind of franchise. I got my 7-day free subscription so that I could check it out. Do you know what? I like The Mandalorian. And for me, it actually had a very different feel to a lot of the stuff that we've seen in the movies. It felt more old school Star Wars with a touch of things like elements of kind of Solo and Rogue One, which I think was really... Jon Favreau's done an amazing job. It looks fantastic. It's good fun. The episodes are short, but it already feels like a movie that they've cut into bits rather than a series.
Okay.
It does. I'm looking forward to the other episodes, but already I'm like, why didn't you just give us a Mandalorian movie rather than a series? Because for me, it works as a series, but I think it would work better as a movie. The thing is, whether the Mandalorian movie, if it happens, should be a theatrical thing, or is this where Disney really make their stake with strong original movies? Because Noel is not exactly hitting home right now, and it is creating a lot of other content kind of along that lines. Is this...
You're telling me that New Lady and the Tramp is not a masterpiece? I am heartbroken.
I mean, I love
right
dogs,
now. I am
but...
May I ask you a question?
Sure.
So actually, it's twofold. So were you able to... Did you see more than one episode? Because I know sometimes they allow...
I saw
Second
one episode.
last night.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you said you're getting a week free? Is
Yeah,
The
7 days.
Mandalorian, did you find it engaging enough that you're going to extend your subscription?
Unless I see the second episode and it really grabs me in, I mean, probably not, to be honest with you. I mean, I might keep it through the holidays and then cut it, but I don't think it's something that I enjoy Disney movies, but a lot of the ones that I love, I own. So I can just pull those off the
had
shelf.
this
And I'm
conversation with you.
still
Yeah.
hard format. I love my hard format stuff. So I don't have kids. I don't really want to go into the depths of this stuff. So I would probably be someone who would dip in for maybe like a month at a time here or there over a year. I mean, I had the opportunity, like many people who are D23 members, to subscribe for 3 years. And honest to God, there's a lot of stuff that I want to watch in there already that's not coming until midway through 2020. So I might have a month now, and then I'll come back for a month at that time and watch a slew of other content when I'm going to. So realistically, no.
Okay.
I don't think I'm going to subscribe. What was your second part of that?
Well, I know because sometimes I know journalists and such, like they might get previews, so they might get the first, like, because it happens to HBO.
Yeah, they show 3.
You get like they'll send you 3 episodes to watch.
And I'm more
it,
likely
and
to do that
That's what
to
I was
ask for
asking.
previews.
I also
than
think
am.
it's interesting because Disney, what I feel like they're doing with this is if they want people to review it, they're making it available for people to review it. So it's almost like they're shooting themselves in the foot in some ways because it's like they're telling us what they really care about.
Yeah.
And they're putting it on the service and they're like, here, watch it. And then anything else, they're just kind of like, well, if you're a Disney fan, you can subscribe.
And this is where I at least appreciate Netflix is like, so when a Stranger Things comes out, certain journalists will get like the first 2 episodes to write the review on it, but then they put the whole season up.
Yep.
I thought Mandalorian was going to be the same thing, and then I see 1 episode, and I'm just going to cache a couple of these episodes and then binge watch.
I do that. I do that with network shows where I will like binge for sort of American Horror Story. I'll might have 4 and I'll watch those, or The Purge, and I'll watch 4 together. But to be honest with you, in an ongoing thing with Disney Plus, as great as The Mandalorian is, and there is a slew of content there already, I just don't. I don't have enough time to get through what I need to do, especially at awards season, to either catch up or stay up to date with stuff that I need to do on a daily basis anyway.
Right.
I simply don't have the time, and I don't want to just pay. I know it's not a lot of money, $7, but I don't want to have that for more content that I can't watch. I'm already doing that with Hulu and Netflix and various other things. Right. But Mandalorian movie, do you think that would be something that they should look at for theatrical, or again, do you think it's just something that they should look at Disney Plus?
I mean, I'm going to be with him, and I'm going to say that they should put it in the movie theater, but I don't think they're going to. I think.
What about limited run in a movie theater? Put it for a month in theaters, and then.
Well, they're going to have the same debacle then, I think, that Netflix is having, because why? And if the freaking theaters cave to them, there should be people freaking outraged.
Yes,
because
I would agree with that 100%.
Because like if they're just saying like, oh, because this is Star Wars, we're gonna put it in the freaking movie theater, and AMC and Regal and all these people who are against Netflix.
Yeah.
It makes no sense, and it also goes to show you how much of a fucking power play they have in the industry and how they control everything.
Yeah, that would bother me as well. But here's the thing: if Alan Horn is saying this, he's saying this theatrically. He's their head of theatricals. But there seems to be button heads here because it wasn't too long ago that Bob Iger and Lucasfilm said less Star Wars.
Yep.
So to base it off of this 1 episode, and I know that these people have probably seen the entire season, so they know something that we don't.
No one has seen the entire season. The most anyone has seen is 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Bob Iger, probably. I'm just talking.
Good old Bob.
Yeah.
Bob the
So, but to make a Mandalorian movie based on the 1 episode that we all get, it seems a kind of presumptuous at this point, especially since they said we're going to curb back. We're curbing back on Star Wars. We're giving it a break. So giving it a break with a Mandalorian.
But again, if they could take the tax where they don't necessarily change their opinion on cutting back on content. They do have it like in certain theaters in certain markets for just a weekend. Like Marvel and Disney have both done that with event things for TV shows like Inhumans. I mean, it didn't work particularly well, but nobody cared about the Inhumans. But I mean, there's nothing to say that they can't do a special engagement for a weekend at say El Capitan, and then a select other cities like maybe Chicago and New York and stuff like that, and then launch it on like the Sunday night on Disney Plus. So they could still get theatrical.
Yeah, they could do a Fathom.
They could do a Fathom style stuff. Fathom's doing particularly well with their stuff.
They're great.
Doing really well.
That stuff. So I could see that. I don't know. It just seems. You're talking about the Rian Johnson Star Wars, now a Mandalorian Star Wars.
Yeah.
And the Mandalorian, again, that's the type of Star Wars that they were saying, we're not doing these, we're not doing character movies. They pulled them all off the They pulled the Boba Fett movie. They pulled the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie.
Yeah.
It's going straight to series on Disney+.
Yeah.
That's a smart move. So keep Mandalorian on. Let's build up the fan base. Let's see how it does.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's going to be great. 12 episodes? Are we talking? Is that what the Mandalorian is?
I don't know. But I do want to say one thing is it would have been interesting to see how successful the launch of Disney Plus would have been if it wasn't for Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Because I feel like besides you and a few other people sprinkled throughout, I don't feel like anyone is talking about anything else.
No, it's this anticipation thing. It's this anticipation thing.
Hey, I talked about the million,
No, that's
million
what I'm
dollar
saying.
duck.
I said you. I said besides you.
Yeah.
I really like most people were just like the Mandalorian.
That's
so,
true. It
so
got a
I'm-
lot of buzz. But it's the only thing, too, that you see billboards
Yeah.
about. You don't see billboards about all the other IPs they have. Like the Black Hole.
We need to move on, and we need to talk about some stuff in the chat. More Star Wars content like The Mandalorian, please. Xeno Hour. Ricky Davila rolled my eyes at the quote about there being the possibility of a Mandalorian movie. Wiener Schnitzel, Werner Herzog. Werner Herzog made The Mandalorian. He is great. I was a big fan of Nick Nolte as well. Xeno Hour, put Herzog in every movie. Add more Herzog. Wiener Schnitzel, Xeno Hour, you know the Terminator duck face was missing? Werner Herzog. Also, an audience. Sky Patterson, Simon, The Mandalorian movie? Not super interested. I didn't watch TV series. I might. I didn't subscribe to Disney Plus because, well, I already have bills to pay. Disney ain't going to be one of them. No, absolutely. I think people will have to choose at the moment between what they're going to do. Wiener Schnitzel, Supreme Leader Werner. Okay, I get it. You like Werner Herzog. Jody, hi, Simon. I'm watching at the gym. You can do it. Get through the burn, Jody. You can do it. Wiener Schnitzel, Werner steals the show. The Mandalorian. Okay, I get it. Oh my god, I think Werner Herzog's in the chat today. Senor Nerd, anyone is upset the Michael Jackson Simpsons episode isn't available on Disney Plus? No. Kama Egan, I do like that the streaming services have shown an episode a week instead of the entire show all at once because it makes the average viewer want to carve time out to watch it during the week. I actually heard someone on NPR talking about this the other day, and someone else on another show was talking about this amazing new way of presenting a show episode by episode. It's really nice
new way.
because then they can't binge. It's nice to have it spread out and make you wait for the next one. I'm like, you know, we've been doing that since like
the invention
fucking
of
TV was
television.
invented.
It's an amazing new way.
This is
It's
not
toast.
This is not like a Disney Plus Netflix kind of new thing, or like we should make them wait for a week. You know, this has been going on for a long time, but they spoke about it like it was reinventing the wheel, and I was like,
best invention since sliced bread. Really.
Thanks for playing. Okay, let's move on from Mandalorian. Okay, a Doctor Sleep sequel was in the works before the film underperformed at the box office. Let's talk Doctor Sleep. It's a movie that I enjoyed. I didn't love. I know a lot of people kind of lost their shit over this movie. I think Mike did a really good job. I just think, to be honest with you, I think it was marketed badly, and I think their media sort of process that who they targeted for outlets was horribly construed and executed. The sequel was in the works before the film underperformed at the box office. Now, Warner Brothers are obviously launching their own streaming service as well.
Shocker.
Should that be something they consider, that if they
No.
do want to still make this, they do it as a TV thing, as maybe TV specials, or just let this...
Let it go.
Let it go. And that's Frozen.
Yes.
That's a Disney franchise.
Disney's never gonna let that go though.
Ka-ching!
Ching.
But
Box office merchandise.
All about the Olafs.
Yeah. But you know, I think this is a perfect example and a lead into like Coming to America. I mean, it's just like learn from other studios' mistakes.
Yeah.
Like The Shining, we love it. It's well known, but did audiences want Dr. Sleep? Doesn't seem like it.
Yeah.
And I feel like the reaction has been very mixed with the public.
Yes, it has.
Public has been like really
Yeah.
like, I love it, I hate it, that seems to be the case.
Which to me can be sometimes the best movies. I was sad to see the fate of Dr. Sleep because I really thought, for me anyways, it was the best horror movie that I'd seen this year. And I thought as a coming from the book, I thought it was a really excellent adaptation. Look, if they do a television series on Warner Brothers thing, I guess, but you know, by that point, I think we're all going to be on overload for streaming services. So at this point, the movie has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Let it end. It's sad. I wish it had done better, but you're right. You can't go forward.
It deserves to have done better, and I'll be honest with you. I think Warner Brothers put way too much on It Part 2 this year, and not enough attention on Dr. Sleep. And again, I think a lot of their media stuff was very poorly handled. They were preaching to the converted, and I think they didn't give anyone outside of that really anything to go on.
And I just want to say, As someone who has been very supportive of Warner Brothers, they have way too many movies.
Yes.
They need to cut back. There is too many movies. Bam, bam, bam. It's like Dr. Sleep, Good Liar. Both these movies are going to flop because you don't have time to get off the high of it. If you can do like Disney does. Disney like has a very strategic plan. And like they know when they have a big movie and they know when they have a weaker one. And they always kind of like piggyback them.
Right.
So if a weaker movie like Maleficent comes out, they know like, okay, that'll be there for 3 weeks and then we'll have Frozen, which will make a ton of money.
Right.
And they did the same thing with Christopher Robin and something else. I forgot what the other movie is that came right after it. But they know what they're doing.
Right.
And sometimes when you don't have, you know, enough marketing power, you're not going to make your money back. So please cut back
And if I could add, though,
Yeah.
Warner Brothers still, like, I feel like they still feel that they have whip because they're releasing these smaller movies that they don't have the capacity to release. They don't know how to release a small movie anymore.
Yeah.
So when you wasn't Blinded by the Light?
Oh, my God, yeah.
Right? Now, that movie deserved a platformish kind of a release, but that's not in their wheelhouse anymore.
That just got completely swallowed up.
Swallowed up. And again, a movie I felt deserved a better fate. But when you are releasing huge 3,000, 4,000, they don't know how to handle the smaller release. They should either go away or bring Whip back, like, and have it be their focus, like their focus features, and release those smaller films the way you give it the TLC. They don't know how to do the TLC on small films.
No.
I'm so bothered by the whole Warner Brothers thing because, like, they had 2 movies about Bruce Springsteen this year. They had his documentary and they had Blinded by the Light. And, like, neither one of them did anything because, like, they don't, like you said, they don't know how to market.
I saw lots of photos of journalists meeting Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
And then I actually wondered when the movie was coming out. And I was like, it came out. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. No, but, I mean, here's the thing, like, and this is something that everyone should know, is that Joker's made $1 billion today. Congratulations, Joker. But, like, they had to make up for freaking all the losses of all these other movies.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're not really ahead.
Yeah.
No.
They're like losing money like left and right because Blinded by the Light was bought for $20 million. It barely made like $5 million.
Right.
You know, Western Stars probably cost at least $1 million or $2 million. That didn't make anything.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you have Good Liar, which is probably not going to do well. You have Dr. Sleep that didn't do well. So it's like all these movies are just more of like flops, and this just takes away the money. So if you cut back your product and focus on making like 4 to 5 really good movies a year, that's all you have to do.
I mean,
but also promote them right.
But also, I think there's an element of the fact that I think some studios are putting the cart before the horse by there's one thing to have an idea about maybe a sequel after, you know, the first or second week. You've still got plenty of time to put that into production. You can lay some groundwork, but not have it any, you know, in any firm way. But I think really with this, you know, to look at doing a sequel, I think really was a little bit putting the cart before the horse, and I don't think it necessarily needs it. You know, I genuinely don't think it needs it. It's fine as a standalone sequel, as a new alliteration of this lore of Stephen King. And there's so much Stephen King content out there right now, which is great to see that people really, you know, utilizing. But we went through this in the 90s, where we had some great Stephen King versions and some that didn't. And people are already writing these articles. Is it the end of the Stephen King renaissance? Is this because It Chapter 2 did well, but not as well as the first one? You know, you've got this one, which was not a success. It deserves to have done better. But I just think that it's, you know, I just don't, I think it was very presumptuous to even talk about a sequel before that.
And I love your cart before the horse analogy because there was a time when you waited for a movie to be a success. Like if a movie, like if Dr. Sleep made, you know, $150, $200 million, it wouldn't be a surprise to anybody that they say we're putting a sequel into production. But you, to your point, you do that after you see how your initial movie comes out.
People are not even giving it Friday to Friday these days. I had discussions with 3 or 4 people inside various elements of the studio system, and the art of the second and third week push is fucking dead.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, it's like a dodo. It's like if you're not, if you don't maintain those theaters for that second week, even by Wednesday, people are like, moved on.
Yeah.
You know, the day of the continual push is just, it's not out there. And there's a wave of new content that's coming in already. I mean, this week there's three movies that are gonna, you know, get people away from other product that's out there. Terminator losing over 1,000 screens.
Yeah,
you know?
and we're bombarded with content.
And it's now not just in theaters;
right.
it's in home as well.
And I have to say, you know, there's a Star Wars video game that has a lot of popularity behind it that's coming out today. That's going to keep a percentage of people from going out to the movies because they're going to be playing the game. It has been proven that video games can take away from whatever is popular like at that time because people are going to stay home and play a game. So this is going to be an interesting week with the 3 movies. Absolutely.
People in the chat already talking about this. Wiener Schnitzel, Dr. Sleep is the Blade Runner 2049 of 2090, an unfortunate fate. Yeah.
That's
Zeno Hour, outside of Joker and It Chapter 2, Warner Brothers has dropped the ball on marketing and release strategy for all of 2019. Do you know what? I kind of agree. Sky Patterson, I think that the Warner Brothers should develop a 3-part, 90-minute limited TV series on Dr. Sleep with Mike Flanagan or Scott Derrickson overseeing it, or do something new like Castle Rock. I mean, yeah, maybe, but even Castle Rock has already lost that ground on Hulu for its 2nd season. Wiener Schnitzel adding in some comments. I hope Dr. Sleep's box office doesn't cast a shadow on the brilliant Mike Flanagan. He's a great director. It won't.
Yes.
I mean, Mike has already got a number of projects that are very strong lined up, and obviously, you know, continuing Netflix relationship as well. But I love Mike, and this is not for me his finest work. There are several things that you can find on Netflix, like Gerard's Game, Hush, which are fucking incredible movies. It too had to drop off from It 1, and Dr. Sleep fell off. Maybe there's Stephen King fatigue, saying Wiener Schnitzel. I think it's too early to say that, to be honest with you. I really do. Sky Patterson, we're going to move on from this in a second, but final word from Scott. Warner Brothers 2020 film slate. Oh my God, Birds of Prey, Wonder Woman 1984, The Way Back, Godzilla vs. King Kong, Barbie, Scoob, King Richard, Tenet, Dune, Conjuring, Malignant, Witches. Will it succeed or implode? 50% of those movies will fail.
Yeah.
50% will fail. 20% will do well, and then you know the rest, the 30% that's left, are going to do the ones that are going to do gangbusters. But I can already see a number of those on that list that I think are going to get shuffled out the side door at Warner Brothers.
Godzilla versus King Kong.
Yeah, Godzilla versus King Kong after King Kong's after Godzilla's success this year. And obviously Kong previously. I'm really interested to see what they're doing on it. And Zeno, speaking of Warner Brothers, thoughts on the new logo, yay or nay? I mean, to be honest with you, that's the least of Warner Brothers' problems right now, you know. Okay, I want to talk about Fantasy Island trailer as well. I've got a couple of things to get in very quickly before we talk about box office and review the week's films. Fantasy Island trailer, Blumhouse Corner. Blumhouse Corner. Fantasy Island, for those of you who don't know what it is, and I'll be honest with you, this is old people shit. Fantasy Island was a TV show back in the day where people could basically go to this location, and there was a guy and his little short friend who would kind of make these wishes come true. Blumhouse took this idea about 18 months ago. This was announced, and basically they made it much darker. Of course they have. It's got to be fucked up. So this is basically, these people go to this island, if you haven't seen the trailer this week, and they get their wishes, but necessarily their wishes aren't played out in the way that they would want them to be. Everything gets a little bit dark and nasty and it's sinister because it's Blumhouse. Guys, did you see this trailer and what were your initial thoughts? Me on this, I'm very excited for this. I'm a little wary of the director because some of his stuff has not turned out to be as good as I wanted it to be, but I have high hopes for this. Dimitri, first of all.
I do too. I watched my knee-jerk reaction after watching the trailer for the first time.
Yeah.
The first, let's say, 20 seconds of the trailer, I wasn't so hip to the lead actress or one of the actors. I thought the dial, but then once it went sinister and darker, then I'm like, oh, okay, I'm on board. I watched the trailer again, and yeah, all that first 15-second preconception I had went out the window. Really looking forward to it. It looks. We talked about this a year ago, right? And they had hinted that it would be dark, and we, if I remember correctly, we were all on board for that. And they seem to have gone down that road. They seem to be true to their word. So
well, they've gone all the way down that road. I mean, there are parts of this that look like it's almost like Hostel level stuff.
Yeah, it looked. Yeah, I'm on board.
Yeah, I'm indifferent towards it.
Interesting.
Yeah, it just there seems to me, based on the trailer, and I could be wrong, but there seems that there's going to be this weird, jarring tonal shift in the movie, where I feel like it might be a little too light at times, and then it gets a little too dark at times, and I'm kind of concerned. I also feel the same way you do about the director. Kind of hit and miss.
I've been burnt a couple of times with movies of his that look great and then they don't deliver.
I mean, Blumhouse is very weird for me as a studio because I feel like they either really work or they really don't. There's very few where I walk out of and I'm kind of like, that was okay.
Yeah.
I usually am like, yeah, it was great, or oh, that freaking sucked. And I don't know. I'm like not sold on this movie yet. I'm not sold on it.
I'm excited to see it.
I'm literally going to watch nothing else about this movie until this comes out. I've watched that trailer and I'm on board for it. Comes out Q1 next year, so I'm pretty well. I think it's Valentine's weekend.
Great weekend.
Which is great, which is amazing.
Replacing Happy Death Day for You.
Yeah. I think there'll probably be at least one more trailer, and I'll watch the next trailer. But that's all I want to know about the movie. I don't want to know too much. I do want to be surprised with whatever surprises it has.
Yeah.
Do we think rated R or PG-13?
I'm hoping for R, but I've got a funny feeling I think it might be PG-13.
Same here.
And, there was discussion about this week because obviously Black Christmas trailer dropped as well.
Right.
That movie's going to be rated PG-13. A lot of people were like, PG-13, you can't be terrifying. But there have been a number of movies over the years that have been PG-13 that are, insanely effective movies.
Sure.
Very scary movies. I mean, one that instantly comes to mind is Poltergeist, and I think the first Insidious, which shit me right up, was a PG-13. So you can do dark and effective. A Quiet Place was a PG-13.
Yeah.
So there are movies that you can do, some stuff that's really dark and quite fucked up and still have that audience. And at the end of the day, a lot of it is to do with getting asses in seats.
Yep.
And again, if you want to have that, that teen audience, that younger audience, then you need to have that movie where they don't have to go.
Black Christmas needs that.
Black Christmas is that. That is a great example of that.
And Fantasy Island, I think, too, because we know it as a television series where a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
And if you're getting in a new audience, you need to be able to go.
Absolutely.
So PG-13, I'd be fine with.
Zeno Hour saying Fantasy Island trailer did nothing for me. Sorry to hear that, Zeno Hour. Kame Egan, I miss Tattoo. The film is dark, frightening, and has me wanting more. Sky Patterson, Simon, Fantasy Island, ? Blumhouse, is Happy Death Day, Black Christmas, Us, Truth or Dare, Get Out. Is this just a way of making up not getting the Scream film rights? No. I think it's fine. There are other things that Blumhouse are looking at resurrecting. They've got The Craft. There's another movie that they're still trying to buy at the moment. It's a favorite movie of mine from the 80s that Jason and the team are working very hard on getting the rights to at the moment. And if that happens, I'll be psyched. But no, I don't think it's making up for Scream. To be honest with you, that's neither here nor there for them. They don't need. I would still rather Blumhouse continue to make sort of more original content than reviving franchises. When they revive a franchise, they do it well. But I think when they really excel, they do is their original content. I think that stands heads and shoulders above the rest. Okay, very quickly, let's look at the box office for this week. According to Box Office Mojo, who, I'll be honest with you, some of their predictions recently have been a little bit shaky, but they're still putting Ford versus Ferrari.
That's across the board, though.
Yeah, it's a little bit shaky, but we're going to go with them for an example again this week. Brought in 2.1 million. This is fact-based from fake news. 21 million from Thursday evening previews, which is strong. It's a good amount of money. Deepwater Horizon, by comparison, which opened at the same time of year, a couple of years ago, brought in 860,000. Then it opened for a weekend around 20. Midway delivered 925 in previews ahead of it. Opening of 17.9, so people are now predicting they're looking at about 16 to 20 million really for this weekend. It's likely to come out on top against Charlie's Angels, the other big release. Ford versus Ferrari looking at about 20-22. Charlie's Angels are likely to take second place, about 13. Midway about 8.5, and then the other week's release, The Good Liar, is sort of languishing towards the bottom of the charts this week. But also Waves is coming out this week. It's a limited release in certain cities, but it's certainly going going to get a lot of people talking. Okay, let's look at this week's movies. First of all, let's talk about Waves. We've got 15 minutes to talk about these movies because I think there's a lot to talk about, all of them. Waves, first of all, guys, limited release. I think it's in 4 theaters across the US this weekend. I'll go to you guys first of all. Demetri, your thoughts on this?
I love Waves. I think Waves is a really special movie. I think it's artistry on the screen. I think there are fantastic performances. I left the theater emotionally spent. The movie does a couple of things that we're not seeing in cinema today. It's taking risks. And it takes a major risk that hasn't been done that I can recall theatrically for a very long time. And I can't even use the reference because I don't want to give anything away to this movie. But from a cinema standpoint, I would suggest you see the movie on the biggest screen possible because it also plays around with aspect ratios. And I'm not giving anything away. That's not a spoiler. It's something that I really encourage you that if you go see it to try to notice because it's done purposefully, subtly. Kelvin Harrison Jr. is fantastic, but the entire cast lifts him up as well. Again, it's a very heavy emotional movie.
Yeah.
It runs a little long, I will say. That is my one critique. But by the end of it all, man, oh Manischewitz, I was just emotionally drained and spent throughout the entire journey. So I think it's a fantastic movie. If you have the opportunity to see it, go.
Your thoughts on this, Scott?
I mean, I've been pushing this movie since I seen that Telluride. I adore the movie. It's in my top 5 of the year. It's just a really special film because it deals with a lot of things that not only African American families deal with, but I think any American family deals with.
Yeah.
And that's the struggle of being able to fit in and live up to your expectations and how you're viewed by society. And the first half, this movie is broken into 2 very distinct parts. First half is very intense and kind of like keeps you on the edge of your seat the entire time. And then there's this like jarring shift where it becomes more of like the aftermath, so to speak. And it focuses on Kelvin Harris Jr.'s sister in the movie, played by Taylor Russell. And what I love so much about the second half of this movie, and I know a lot of people have, they always talk about the second half of the movie and where it loses them, is that, we've seen the first half of this movie more often than not. If you even go back to a movie like Loose, which I loved earlier in this year, very similar in a lot of ways in themes. When you get to the second half of the movie, it kind of shifts gears and it has a very sweet character at its center. And I feel like the fact that they were able to make that sweet, innocent girl so interesting and so compelling really is what makes this movie so good, because you have that shift, like I said, but you're following her on her journey, and she, who has been ignored for the first half of the movie entirely, now has to kind of pick up the pieces, and she, in a lot of ways, becomes the redeeming force of not only herself, but another young man played by Lucas Hedges and the family. And I just think that the way that it's brought together, complete with the aspect ratios, makes it so emotionally powerful and important. And I think it's a universal story if people bother to sit through it. And I think really think about it.
And bothering to sit through it is a big thing, because I agree with Demetri. For me, it was overlong. I mean, it's only a 2-hour movie, but it felt 2.5 to 2:40. There's a lot. It's a very intense. It's a very emotional movie. I'll be honest with you. It has visually, it's one of the most creative and impressive movies that I've seen this year. I mean, it's art. It is absolutely stunning and beautiful. Everybody's performance in this movie is absolutely on point. Absolutely phenomenal performances and really interesting stories. For me, though, the movie, it just, I really enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. I'm not quite sure why. It's a movie that there are so many things about it that I absolutely loved, but as a movie, I was kind of waiting for it to end, and I just think if it had been tightened up, I think it would have been even more powerful. At times, while the message is there and very important, it felt a little bit like a PSA, an after-school special warning against some of the pitfalls that can become people in society, whether that's their own actions or the actions that are resulting because of the pressures that are put on them. But it is one of the most sincere films I have seen this year, and it has real heart. And if you are up for something that is challenging, I would certainly recommend Waves. It's a movie that, even though I didn't love it, I am going to watch again. It's on a list of ones that I want to watch again this year, because I think there's stuff that I missed and perhaps I didn't get and I didn't appreciate. I really want to go back and visit it, but it is a powerful and impressive piece of cinema, and this is art. I mean, it's brilliantly creative, and I sat there wondering when some of the shots, I'm like, how the fuck did they manage to do that? There's some really magical cinema in this.
He used the movie screen as a canvas.
It's
really
just
was
beautiful. It's like an installation. I'd go and see it, like, you know, LACMA or MoMA or something like that. I mean, it's really powerful, incredible.
And I don't mean it in a pretentious way either.
No, absolutely. We're going to talk about Ford versus Ferrari in just a moment. Straight Edge Vegan Bell. I know you saw that last night. Sky Patterson, I can't wait to see Ford versus Ferrari. Very curious about seeing Waves. The movie resembles Beale Street and Moonlight. Very relatable to me. Charlie's Angels, I don't know. Sony, explain. Yeah, I think actually the comparisons with Beale Street and Moonlight are very, very...
Oh, there's a scene in this movie that really just captures just like,
Yeah, straight out of like both of those movies.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think it's very interesting to me. Waves has these elements of so many great movies, but it also feels incredibly personal to the director.
Yeah, very much so.
I just think it's really a special film.
And for me, that is a major plus for the movie, but for me also that is something of an Achilles heel, because I think it's one of these examples where when it's very personal to you, I think sometimes it doesn't necessarily always feel that personal to the audience. But we can talk about that again at length, because we need to get to other movies. Okay, let's very quickly talk about Charlie's Angels. You guys go for this first of all. Scott, I need your thoughts on this first of all.
I know I'm like the odd man out on the table on this one. I love this movie. I just had so much fun with it. I grew up watching the original TV show.
Yep.
And then I watched the 2000 and 2003 movie.
Was it the Chad?
Those were okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't a big fan of those. And I remember the TV show very fondly. Again, it's childhood memories. You watch it with family members and you remember it. This I just felt like was like the update that this movie needed. I thought that they did a great job casting the three lead girls. I love Kristen. I've always been a big fan of Kristen Stewart, but I love seeing her outside of her comfort zone here, doing something like wild and weird and different. And she had so much fun with it, and you can tell when you're watching the movie. I also thought for a movie like this, which had Elizabeth Banks directing, and I was not a fan of Pitch Perfect 2 at all. I thought she did a really good job handling the action sequences and blurring the lines of comedy and action. I just liked it.
Okay, Demetri, it's all right. You don't have to apologize, Demetri.
I did not like it as much as Scott did, albeit I did like the Angels. I thought that they were great. And to your point, I did enjoy Kristen Stewart. It's the first time I actually... She looked as if she was having fun, and she was great at that role. My biggest problem was with the story and the direction. It felt like something, it wanted to be a Mission Impossible. I felt the fight scenes were choreographed really well. I felt the action scenes were completely flat. I mean, how many times can we have an international car chase scene where the car ends up in the river? And then but just have it be so... There was nothing to it, and they were borrowing. You can tell there were parts from Atomic Blonde had an amazing car chase sequence where the stakes were up, and then in Mission Impossible 3, where Tom Cruise is hanging out of the car, I didn't feel that she was able to direct the action really well.
You know why? Because she had a $40 million budget,
but a good director,
as opposed to 160.
But a good director can work with a great budget like that and make it seem like I haven't seen it before. But I like the cast, but that I will give the cast credit if they do go to a sequel.
They're not going to.
No. No. I mean, I want to, 5 minutes. I want to get to Ford versus Ferrari. It's kind of like a sliding scale of liking this movie. I agree with all of your points. I think the action was choreographed well, but shot terribly. I literally felt no excitement for this entire movie. And for a movie that is meant to be very pro women, I think this did a massive disservice to poorly written characters. I mean, for me, the best characters in this. I mean, the Angels were fine. It was good fun, and clearly everybody was having a blast making this this movie,
Absolutely.
which I'm really happy for them. So that it wasn't an arduous experience. But watching this, I literally felt nothing. It's one of my least favorite movies of the year. I like Patrick Stewart. I thought Patrick Stewart was great, but the guys are hammy. I just didn't like this movie. It's getting some people are thinking about 13 million, maybe 15 million. We're not going to see a sequel. No. So if Sony were looking for a franchise with this, I'm sorry, this is stone cold dead. And there's a post-credit sequence, or there's a sequence in the credits actually, which is actually one of my favorite parts of the movie. That if they'd had more of that shit in the film, I think it would have elevated it a lot and been a lot more enjoyable. Charlie's Angels, massive disappointment for me, but I'm.
You said the post-credit sequence. I'll give it the last 20 minutes too, but that was because they were fight scenes, but whatever action there was. It was flat.
I could see what it was going for. It just didn't manage to achieve it. So there's a lot of stuff there, but they just didn't pull it off for me. Thought it was okay. I did not like it at all. Okay, let's talk about Ford versus Ferrari. But at the end of the day, if you want to go and see the movie, go and see the movie. Yeah. I mean, this just goes to prove that movies are a very personal thing. Yeah. Ford versus Ferrari also coming out this week. This is an awards hope for the guys at Fox. Matt Damon, Christian Bale headlining this one. Scott, first of all, on this, your thoughts?
I thought I was lucky enough to be part of the first audience to see this at Telluride, and I think it was the world premiere. And I love Bale and I love Damon in this movie. I have issues with the secondary characters, especially the son and the wife character. I feel like they're very underutilized and their story doesn't flow. But once you get to the actual racing stuff, especially the last one, the movie really does pick up speed and it works well.
Unintended.
Yeah, very much so. And I do think that while I don't believe that this movie will get much awards attention outside of maybe like sound mixing or sound design and possibly Bale, even though he won't win, I don't think it's worthy of a Best Picture nomination. I think it's a good movie, a fun movie, a good blockbuster movie, and one that I think Middle America is going to eat up like a big piece of cake.
It's very enjoyable. Your thoughts,
Dimitri? Quick, spoiler-free. Yes, loved Bill, loved Damon, loved their dynamic together. The racing scenes were exciting and thrilling. It does not stick. The ending.
No.
That is when all wheels fall off.
Yeah.
The rims there, and it could have been literally, had it been 15 minutes shorter by lopping off the ending that they had, it would have really ended on a far better note, and I would have appreciated the movie more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree. I agree with you on that. I mean, everyone does everything they do very, very well, and the race sequences are really where this movie comes alive. Very capable performances from Damon and from Bale. Good direction as well. Some of the cinematography is absolutely incredible. The stunts are fantastic. It's really where it comes at the end with the Le Mans race that it really that's where I was sort of holding my head and I was at the edge of my seat. The rest is an interesting story. Do I think it has many hopes? I agree with Scott on this when it comes to awards. I mean, we might get nods, but I really don't think we're going to get many wins. But again, I think it's a crowd-pleasing movie that is going to put bums in seats, and which again, Fox as a studio this year, they need this kind of crowd-pleasing movie. It's good. It's really enjoyable. It's exciting. It's interesting. It's a story I wasn't aware of, and there were lots of Britishisms in there that made me chuckle. So I think that was something that was particularly warming for me. Is it in my top 10 of the year? I don't know, to be honest with you, but I had a blast with it, and it's a good fun time. Dimitri had some more thoughts.
I was just gonna say the Le Mans sequence. Do you know that was filmed in 4 different tracks around the world?
Wow.
Like and all seamlessly edited together. Some of it was filmed here in like Atlanta, then they were in like England. Yeah. I mean, to me that is movie magic.
Yeah.
And the mere fact how they're able to edit it all together, and they had to keep on filming these scenes over and over, going around like certain bends. Like it was not one track. The way they filmed that, I think that's tremendous.
Scott, any more thoughts on this?
I mean, I just think someone, Sky Patterson said like he loves James Mangold, and I think James Mangold could do anything. He's shown as a director that he has so much range. And listen, I'm not saying that I don't like this movie. I think this movie is a great feel-good movie, but I have to like I mean, I think so. It's a hoorah, rah, rah, rah movie. You're like, yeah, when you're watching this movie. But like at the end of the day, like when we're talking about award buzz, outside of some of the technical stuff and Bale's performance, because I don't think Matt Damon's performance at all is award worthy.
No.
But Bale
good.
disappears. Yeah.
Yeah, but
he's always good though, Bale. So
good,
it's like
good and awards worthy are two
Yeah.
very different things.
Yes.
So I don't think this will be James Mangold when
Yeah.
it comes to the Oscars. But I think it'll put butts in seats. So if I was going to recommend a movie, I would say probably Ford versus Ferrari or Waves this week. You guys?
Waves.
If you can find Waves, then either Ford versus Ferrari. If you're looking for the commercial film, and you may not hate Charlie's Angels.
I mean,
Yeah.
probably will. Okay, Demetri, who are you? Where can we find you, please?
At Demetri Panos on the Twitters, and here at Popcorn Talk Network's Anatomy of a Movie, and occasional guest at Film Critics Weekly, and here as well.
Scott Menzel.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @TheOtherScottM and over at WeLiveEntertainment.com. Thank you.
My name is Simon Thompson. You can find me at Showbiz Simon on Instagram and Twitter. Of course, you can find this show at Meet Movie Press. If you like the show, please find us on Twitter and retweet this. Get more people to watch this show. Thank you to everybody who take part in the show today. Everyone, Yash, Zeno, Sky Patterson, Vina Schnitzel, Werner Herzog, also Kame Egan, and everybody else. And Straight Edge Vegan Bell, we really appreciate your input. Thanks for talking movies with us. I'll be back next week. Take care.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.